Good morning
Hello.
or good afternoon. What time of day is it?
It's only going to go downhill for you from you.
I know.
Uh, I worked with Danielle side by side through 2 pregnancies, and like I joked, like I gained the pregnancy weight with her.
Oh my gosh.
And we went through everything together. We both got pregnant brains,
Oh my God, I love it.
and it was absolutely amazing.
So my boyfriend's always had a pregnant brain, I think, at this point, is what I'm starting to realize.
That's awesome. How are you doing?
What's that?
I said, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm doing good. I feel great, happy.
That's amazing. Now, when's your due date?
May. So I've got May 10th.
May 10th. Awesome.
Yeah. And I was born May 18th. My sister was
Okay.
born May 17th. So we're
I know.
like, is she going to be a late baby and be born on one of our birthdays? I don't know.
That would be amazing. So obviously you found out the girl.
Yes. Yep. Little
Amazing.
girl.
That's so good.
I know. We're so excited.
They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of work, but they're a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Hopefully, like we're going through the homeschooling, and I have like we have cameras in our house.
Oh my gosh.
I have cameras watching to make sure my kids aren't on YouTube, that they're actually, I'm in my shed as usual, but
Yeah.
I'm making sure my 13-year-old's not watching skateboard videos on YouTube.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
And they hate it. I don't know if you can see, I literally can see exactly what he's doing through all audio, all video, and it's what you got to do.
Yeah. You've got them on point, huh? Geez, look at you.
You know what? For a low compliance guy, my by the disc standards, my C is a 4. Like
Oh my
that's,
God.
I've never seen anybody lower than me on that. But for a low C disc, I'm a little bit compliant at home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I get that. Well, they have your what's the breakdown? It's your acquired disc and your natural disc.
Yeah, you get your natural and then your
I know. Why am I blanking on that word? I just was in the class yesterday.
adapted.
Adaptive. Yes, that's the word.
Even adapted, mine only goes up to like 20. Danielle made fun of me for the longest time about it. She's like, Billy D just doesn't care. And I'm that guy that gets like listing contracts signed after they close, you know, and I'm like, sorry about that.
You're every MCA's dream.
Yes, and team leader's nightmare. So I don't know what we'll have on here for people right now. It's just you.
Yeah.
It's we'll see. Oh, now it's Justin. It's
Hey.
Hey Justin. Your audio. It's typically a better discussion if there's a decent amount of people on, because it's you took it with me once before, didn't you, Alicia?
I think I had to jump off halfway through, or I jumped on halfway through, so I wasn't able to take the full class. But I thought this would be a really good conversation, especially coming out of all of the business planning classes and everything that we've been on recently going into a new year. So I really appreciate you, showing up and, doing this for our market center again.
Yeah. And it just got more handsome with Bob Gill and Tom Smith over there.
That's right.
Tom's a phenomenal golfer that, he drives golf balls like a Lamborghini. I'll tell you that. And Bob Gill, for a guy who's 55, still has amazing hair. I can appreciate that. So.
Oh, you're on mute, Bob.
Yeah, Bob, you're on mute, bud. You're probably cursing me out, which is okay. Hold on. I think I can unmute you. Hey, I got you.
Billy, flattery will get you nowhere.
Listen, buddy, it's gotten me pretty far, believe it or not. But nobody buys it anymore. Nobody buys my line of BS. Simply put.
Thank you.
Hey, before we get started, so this is, with COVID, I'll tell you guys, I've taught this maybe like 10 or 15 times. It's usually better in a room, like a lot of trainings. However, it's an open discussion. This is not a class. I mean, this is not a class. This is meant to have conversation, to kind of open up your thought process about who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, why people buy into you, why yesterday when it was super, super ice cold, you chose to get out of bed in the morning as opposed to staying in bed with a blanket and covers over your head. With COVID, I've kind of toned it down a little bit on this discussion, just because, we're all at a different place mentally than we ever have been. I know I am. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not nearly the guy, I don't think, mentally, that I was a year ago. For somebody who considers himself mentally tough, I definitely think that it's taken its toll on me. And I don't know if you guys agree or disagree on that.
I mean, that it's taken a toll on you. I agree.
What?
I agree. It's taken a toll on you.
Oh, yeah. See, absolutely. The Bob with his little side, that was his left hook. It's, hey, Bob, I'll tell you something, and this is, I'll openly say this, and nobody on this knows this, is on a personal basis, and, I'm a pretty open book. On Friday the 13th, I fired my whole team. And it was, I know Alicia's like, that's pretty savage. You should have done it on the 13th. It was something I've been working for a team for 100 years, it seems, and I made the decision on that day that it was no more. And I'm an Army of 1.25 with Danielle as my admin. So yeah, things have changed, Bob. Things have definitely evolved. I'm gonna try.
You made some decisions. That's good.
Yeah, and then my coach called me and I said, listen, no coaching for the next couple of weeks. So I'm not looking for accountability, discussions. I'm not looking to iron out anything. I'm just looking to charge my batteries and get my head on straight. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen here. I'm not that bright, but some of you guys know that. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Right on. So we're going to talk about, if you guys don't mind, we are going to jump right into this. There's enough people on here. I'm going to try to stick to an hour. This is usually an hour and a half, but I'm going to abbreviate it. We got less people, so it should be fine. I'm going to ask you guys if any type of involvement from you guys is greatly appreciated. I like to hear myself talk, but you guys probably won't after a certain period of time. So I'm just going to ask you to get involved, and I'm an open book. So fire away with me, and I just ask you guys kind of have an open mind about this. For those who don't know me, my name is Bill Dentremont. I work up at the KW Norwell office. Been with KW almost 11 years, real estate for, I'm in my 19th year. Up until last week, I ran a small team of 5. Beginning of COVID, I had a team of 7. So that tells you how much my world has changed, because I'm trying to refigure out my big why right now, because as you accomplish one of your whys, there's always something else that happens in your life. You get pregnant, your family is growing, you get married, you get a house, like your big why is always changing. You get sick, there's a lot of things. So it's a very deep subject. Anybody on here, has anybody read Simon Sinek's Start With Why? Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's a great read. Simon Sinek is you can do a lot of TED Talks if you don't know who Simon is. He's an introverted kind of geek with a super smart brain. So if you have some patience for someone who can bring some deep talk, definitely listen to some of his TED Talks. He's a great guy. His book Start With Why just talks about why we do everything that we're doing. Your big why is fueled from inside your heart. It just doesn't, you just don't wake up every morning and your feet hit the floor naturally, believe it or not. And we're gonna start to go through this. So this talks about what is your big why? What's driving your success? And I don't read everything on every slide because I don't want to insult you guys' intelligence, but you can see here it talks about your passion for your big why, followed by your results, followed by time on task over time, which is my favorite saying of all time, and equals success. So you need to have a big why, and that's going to be your power for it. This talks about what is driving your soul and your mindset. What stirs your soul? We're going to go into it. There's about 4 pages of actual questions we're going to talk out loud. But just to start thinking, like, what stirs your soul? Why are you in real estate? And what do you hope to achieve for yourself and your family? Your life should definitely be way more than just real estate. I love Dakota Riley, and that girl does a killer real estate business. But I wouldn't take her life for a day. That's a big business, and that's her choice. I love her to death. She's a good friend. Her why is different from mine. So we love Dakota. So we talked about your big, like what matters to you. When I'm gonna Justin. I don't know you at all. It's the first time I met you. How long you been an agent up in Braintree for?
I've been with Keller Williams since January. I've been an
Awesome.
agent this is my 3rd year.
Okay, welcome to the family, man. I'm sorry I haven't met
Thank
you
you so
yet.
much.
COVID.
Eddie talks very highly of you.
Oh, who does?
Eddie Mulcairn.
Oh, geez, Eddie. He's still.
That's not
because he
true.
lost. That's because
That's
he
a
lost.
lie.
Yeah, that's
That's
because
a
I bailed him
lie.
out of jail. Bailed him out of jail twice.
I doubt that.
And I got one of the restraining orders lifted on the guy. So, Eddie's a good man. Eddie was one of the first people. Eddie, Bob, a couple other ones when I went to Braintree who were there. So, hopefully you'll be involved here, Justin. We talk about, what matters most to you. Everybody has different things that matter, whether it's your health, your business, your belief in God, your spouse, your children, your house, your finances. All those things matter, but everyone matters different at different levels for different people. So I want you to start to dig a little bit, okay? So we're gonna ask a bunch of questions here. When I ask these questions, don't just take the first answer that comes to your brain. A lot of times, we're pre-programmed to think in a certain way. So when it pops in, don't just accept the first answer. Be willing to challenge yourself a little bit deeper. So Alicia is the only female on this. I will tell you that every single time I've ever taught it, I've gotten at least one person to cry. So Bob, I'm looking for you to get some tears today, man. I'm going to be relying on you to.
What does that have to do with me being the only female on this?
Because most of the time it's the women that cry, but I have made a man cry.
All right.
Billy,
So
Well, I'm pretty tough. I am a little hormonal.
I know,
right
but
now,
you're slightly hormonal. So I mean, I'm gonna roll the
You're
dice
playing
and
to
scream.
that card, huh?
I'm gonna scream for Yahtzee,
Billy, I'm gonna be an easy mark for you. I tell you why. I just last Saturday I had a big wedding anniversary. Renewed our marriage vows, and I cried.
Oh, congratulations. That's
How
awesome,
many-
Bob.
How many
Crying?
years? How many years, Bob?
More years than I. What'd you tell me? I'm 55.
Yeah.
I had my 50th anniversary.
That's amazing. That's a good run. I'm not sure I'm gonna keep my wife around that long, but I'll at least if I get to half of that, I'm good. So that's a good run, Bobby. So that leads us question number one. What do you think about? Like, what do you guys think about? This can be anything from your kids to your health to your finances to your dreams to your vacations to material things. What do you guys think about? Like when you get up and something that puts a smile on your face. What do you guys think about?
I've got a 9-month-old daughter. It's pretty easy to have a smile on your face.
That's awesome.
I can't complain. Yeah, we bought a house a year ago, so I just bought an engagement ring. So I got a lot to be happy about, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Yay.
That's
Yeah, my bank account's not that happy.
No, and yeah, with a 9-month-old daughter, and it's not going to improve for a while. You can sell more real estate, but hey, that's be grateful for everything that we have. That's amazing that during a COVID time, you just bought a house a year ago, and your 9-month-old literally was born just before the pandemic started, or
February 26th. Yeah,
yeah.
literally days before, pretty much.
Geez, I mean,
Super lucky.
Your fiance got in and out of the hospital fast there.
Oh, we were there for like a week.
Oh, really? Okay, it wasn't that fast.
Yeah, it was
So, I
brutal.
mean,
It was like an extended stay.
That's huge. What else do you guys? I'll tell you. Like I think about vacations. Pre-COVID, my wife and I, like what was important to us was, for those who know me, I'm like the world's cheapest man. And I got like a $30 pair of shoes from Kohl's that like almost have a hole in the bottom. They're like balling in my head. But I have no problem dropping like $8,000-$10,000 on a vacation twice a year because that actually means something to me. The shoes or car, material things don't mean anything. I grew up not having much, and I'm okay with that in my adult life. I just like to, I like good food, I like good wine, and I love vacations. So that makes me really happy about taking many vacations. That's what I think about.
Jamaica,
What's that?
Jamaica, baby.
Jamaica. I've done Jamaica 8 times. So they refer to me as a Jamaican down there. And I'm the whitest thing that rolled through Jamaica in a long time. And they actually call me Miss. Every time we go there, they refer to me as Mr. Clean. They're like, Mr. Clean. You know, so, yeah, Jamaica's where it's at. Love that place. Anybody else? What you think about?
Well, my big why just changed pretty big.
Yeah.
Finding out that I'm having a baby girl come May. So that's definitely my big why right now. It's always been family, but now it's a little bit more focused in on her.
Yeah, Bill, that's a great question. But when you say, what do you think about? You're talking just generally speaking, what do you think about?
Yeah, you know, it's like
What motivates you?
There you are, buddy. I missed your face. Hey, yeah, like what do you think about? Like, you know, I'm a guy that's been selling real estate 18 years. The last thing I ever want to be remembered as is just a good realtor. Like that means nothing to me. And I know some people. I kind of had this conversation with Tom Smith over the summer. We're golfing. Like that doesn't define who I am. That's just a business, my business and my career. I want to be remembered for way more than that. So, you know, what you think about, like, I think about, you know, after golfing, I want to go golfing tomorrow. I think about, you know, vacations. I think about, you know, being in good health. So we're always around to enjoy these things.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, travel, but, you know, I often think about just, you know, experiencing things with Lisa and our kids, you know, whatever that might be. And so you need to be able to fund that, those experiences. And that's what we think about a lot.
Yeah, man. I love that, Ricky, because experience, like I talked about, you know, shoes, cars, clothing, watches, you know, Big Bertha houses mean nothing to me. You know, those experiences are, you know, the experiences you're going to have forever. I did this little thing with my kids a couple of years ago. I think it was last year. And one of my kids said, hey, remember we were in Myrtle Beach? We went to this restaurant and I had this. And then they said the next day we did this, this, and that. They named everything. And I said, great. I go, tell me what you got for Christmas last year. And they couldn't tell me.
Wow. That's so
you're
cool.
talking a 10-year-old kid who you'd assume their Christmas gift was their number one thing. But he could tell me all about the experiences and the food and the name of the restaurant that we ate at down in Myrtle Beach a couple of years prior.
Hey, Billy,
You say that because I'm trying to push my wife to take a winter vacation versus spend a bunch of money on crap. You know what I mean? And she's nervous with the COVID that, we can't come home. I'm like, come on, they'll be fine.
Corey's going to Jamaica in like 3 days. You know, three
Tom,
or 4 days. He's making it happen.
Tom, we did that last year. Me and Lisa took some of our kids down to Miami right during Christmas. And that was instead of having a bunch of gifts under the tree. And I'll tell you, that was much more memorable. We had an
absolutely. I mean, my kids are on board. It's my wife. And I don't want to go far. I want to go to ski country and wake up and see fresh snow and walk around the shops and, you know what I mean? Build those experiences, not just buy the hottest new toy or electronic that comes out.
Hey, Tom, let me just do it. Just buy it, book it. And then a couple of weeks before Christmas, surprise her and say, hey, listen, you have no idea how much you need this until we're going to be there. And trust me, it'll be okay. Definitely take that. You know, nothing's guaranteed. You know, here today, gone tomorrow. If you're physically and financially able to do it, you just do it. And trust me, she will go. If not, let me know. I'll go with you.
All right. Sounds good.
Right, I'm not much of a cuddler. I got to tell you that. So,
hey, Billy,
all right.
Billy, for me, you know, when you said, you got on to do, stay on one because, I think I got it as, what do you think about every day when you wake up? And every day when I get up, what goes through my mind is, how do I, given what's going on in the world, what's going on with COVID, with all of the difficulties, I look at how can I and those around me, and I look at it as, my family, as, continue to be well, mentally, physically, and be able to live normal lives. That's my number one priority during this time, and it changes, but daily is I want to have a good day every day, and be ready for and continue that. And good meaning everything. I'm making progress on all fronts.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously, Bob, COVID's changed the game, and none of us know the rules. So we all have to do the best that we can do. And a strong mind is definitely needed. Let me ask you this question: how do you guys spend your time? I spent it on a golf course with Tommy a lot this year, and Bill
And
Stone
Rick.
and Rick Murray, and learned something from all you clowns. And I'm grateful that I have you all in my life to help you, and that you didn't laugh at me that much in my golf game. So how do you guys like to spend your time, and girls?
Golfing. Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, work hard, play hard. Why is that important, Ricky?
I mean, if we're going to be able to have those things that we think about on question one, you need to have the financial ability to pay for those experiences. And so you need to, this is all I know. I've been doing this 30 years. So I just want to do it at a high level. I love what Bob just said. I want every day to be a good day. So I think it's always a work in progress, trying to figure out how we can have 5 consecutive awesome days, not only in our work life, but in our personal life.
That sounds fantastic.
And, I think now more than probably any time in my career, we're finding consistency and balance, and, we're working a little more efficiently with little leverage, always room for improvement. But, I just had a meeting with someone today, and I was like, when I think about it, we're home 5 nights a week having dinner. Sometimes there's an interruption with work, but that's kind of an important constant in our life, having family dinner. And, Lisa's always really firm on, no phones at the table. Everyone's going to engage in conversation, talk about their day, and eat some amazing food. That stuff's priceless.
Yeah, that goes back to values and beliefs, Rick. Our parents, most people of our generation, we didn't have these foolish phones.
Right.
So it wasn't, we didn't have all these disruptions in our world, and our parents just simply didn't tolerate it. You either ate right then and there with the family, or you didn't eat at all. That's how most of us grew up. Now it's a different time, but yeah, I love that. I love that.
What's
Anybody
funny
else?
too is, I feel like personally my big why has been elusive in terms of having clarity on it. But even this morning, Lisa come back from a walk, and she was in tears, and I was like, "What happened? Everything okay?" And besides the fact it was really cold and she was tearing up, she was listening to a podcast that made her ask some really powerful questions, and it invoked emotion, and she was literally tearful, and it has to do with her mission, why she's put on this earth. So, here we are in our mid-50s still trying to figure shit out. But when you ask these questions,
Yeah,
it helps. So she wrote down like 10 questions, which is going to help. She hasn't found it yet, but I know it's right there. We're working towards it.
And you know what, Rick, like it could be now or later on during this is, if you don't just wake up and find your big why, and it doesn't matter whether you're 20, 50 or 70, it can still be hard because, and it can change. I've accomplished my first big why that I ever set up, like I accomplished. And now I'm kind of I'm at that crossroads where I'm not sure what my big why is. Right now is to make it through COVID without killing my 2 kids and my wife.
Did you already tell this your story about the first one? Because I remember being a part of that, and that was pretty.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I'm an open book. My years ago, my wife and I went through the IVF, the in vitro process to have children, And it was a tough process for anybody that has experienced it or knows anybody that went through it. And it just didn't happen. So it became my goal to, we decided we're going to adopt. Like, let's adopt a child. Somewhere along the line, we ended up having a second bottle of wine. And we're like, let's adopt two, thinking that was a great idea. So we went from 0 to 2 kids overnight. And that bottle of Josh is still killing me 9 years later. But what my big why was, my wife was working in the corporate world as an HR manager, and it was to get her out of her job, which was just killing her, and get her home, spend some time with the kids as we adopted them, where she could pour into them and give them a life that they deserved. And I ended up accomplishing that. And it was huge. And I remember, Rick, I've known Rick for many, many years, most of the years I've been in real estate. And Rick and I were talking about this big why. And this goes back now 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, it wasn't like it's yesterday. So, and once you accomplish it, you kind of, it's like a relief, but then you're almost like, what's next? And that's the crazy thing. It doesn't always have to be big. You can have a bunch of small whys that lead to it. Going to ask you guys this question here. How do you spend your money? This is a fun one. How do you guys spend your money?
I'm off to the southern climate.
Okay.
Try not to as much as possible.
Okay, try not to. But if money were, if money were, if you had unlimited money in your account, how would you spend your money? Like what would make you smile?
Oh, shopping
Traveling.
spree,
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
vacations.
Food.
Food.
Yes, food.
Food, wine. Who else?
Interesting is with COVID, I have much more spare money than I had in the past. The bank account says a lot. So because not, we enjoy going out to eat. We enjoy vacationing. That's cut back. I enjoy making improvements to property I own, all cost money. And with those, so I'm finding that I'm not spending a ton of extra money
Right.
today. It's really changed. I mean, it shifted significantly over it was. And so if that's how I spend the money on, on the things that are necessary. And my Ginny misses the whole travel thing a lot. I don't, so I'm okay. I'm not missing anything. It's interesting. But, Ginny goes, oh, I can't wait. I'm just, people feel like, I see so many people feel like, what is it called? The COVID, when they're tired, what's the word they use? COVID,
Fatigue.
Justin?
COVID fatigue.
COVID fatigue.
I'm not COVID fatigued. I'm just, maybe something's wrong with me. I'm just not COVID fatigued. There's some things I want to be, but I just, oh, Jenny just joined. Say hi.
Hi, Jenny.
This is a bunch of, we're just on a big Y,
Oh,
Billy D.
Hi.
Anyways, so that's just kind of interesting. I know I just digressed a bit, but I'm not feeling COVID fatigue. I'm feeling better because I'm focusing, which is the second question. You say, where do I spend my time? I spend my time, and I've had a lot of help from my coach, is I'm spending on my time on the things that matter most. And there's so many things that was sucking my time and my energy that was not given. And so by that, I'm doing the things that matter for my business, for my family, for myself. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Jenny.
And Jenny's like, now take me on vacation.
No, Jenny.
Yeah, good, Bobby. And it's like, how do you spend your money? Sometimes you not spending it. I can tell you that we've definitely spent far less money in COVID because, we take 2-3, vacations a year, and we were eating out 2-3 times a week. And, that stuff doesn't exist.
Yep.
Right. Anybody else want to chime in on that one?
I'll say most of my money goes to provide for my kids stuff that I probably didn't have growing up and give them a little more than I had.
Yeah, you're a good dad, Tom. You're a good dad. I enjoy torturing my kids, so they will have to earn everything that they have. There's no free rides in my house. I'm brutal. Maybe I'll soften up a little bit, which is funny. But I appreciate. It's funny. We all tend to do more things for others than we do for ourselves. And there's actually a segment in here talking about why is that. So now I'm gonna ask you guys dig a little bit deeper. Let's peel back some layers and answer a couple of questions here. With whom is the most important relationship in your life? And I just told you what mine was. And I always do that. Mine's with my wife and myself. And hi, Donna Frano.
Love you, Billy.
Right now during COVID, both the relationship with myself and my wife has been the hardest it ever has been. With my wife, it's because we don't have a break from each other. And with myself is because there's so many, Bob, you said you did not have COVID fatigue. I feel like I've gotten my COVID ass kicked, and I'll be the first to tell you that. Consider myself a really mentally tough person, but I got to tell you, COVID has slapped the crap out of me, and I feel it. I feel like I've aged 5 years in a year, and I'm working on that right now. I'm working on me. And right now, for me, the biggest relationship in my life is with me, because I'm trying to get real with myself, because if not, I'm going to head down a rabbit hole. So
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I completely understand the rabbit hole thing. Definitely felt it myself for a couple of weeks, climbed out of it, but I think it's with my girlfriend. I think she's the one that pulls me out of stuff like that. She's a psych nurse, so she's always analyzing me anyways. But no, I think it's her and my daughter. I think whatever I do for them, really. And I think without those relationships, I don't really know where I'd be. So I think those are easily the two most important in my life.
That's awesome, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, like when you said, yourself, a lot of people forget that, but that should be everyone's most important relationship. And then obviously for me, Lisa, and we got 7 crazy kids, but COVID for us, I mean, I don't know. I think it's improved us. It's improved our focus, what's important, what's not, and what we need to do in order to accomplish the goals we want. It's definitely given us some clarity and some motivation. And we got a great compliment yesterday from a newer agent at our market center who we actually spoke a lot with during COVID, and he joined right before COVID. And he's now into production, but he said there was a few weeks there where he was contemplating just quitting and going back to his old job. And he accredited us for keeping him inspired and motivated. And, we took him on shadowing appointments and everything. So it's great to hear that, because we definitely are not selfish people. We want everyone that we talk with and we see on a daily basis, we want to help improve their lives. So that's kind of been our focus.
I love it, Rick. And that's what I talked about before. Like, I don't want to be remembered as the guy that sells real estate. And the reason is because, like, that's not dynasty stuff. Dynasty stuff is what you just talked about, like being the best version of you, raising 7 kids, being a good spouse, helping others succeed. Because when we're all gone, people are going to talk about us. How do we want them to talk about us? Do we want to be remembered at that legacy is a great mother, father, sister, brother, spouse, funny, somebody who would lift people up when they were down, somebody that would help people out, somebody that helped people out financially when they needed it, emotionally when they needed it. I can tell you, I'd rather be the latter ones there than just a good salesperson, because that means nothing when I'm gone.
Exactly.
I love that. Anybody else want to chime in on with who the most important relationship is?
I would say my daughter and I'm just working on myself. I think I mentioned earlier in Bob's class, I feel like I kind of lost my footing this past year. And so I'm just kind of, revamping and just reevaluating what I should be doing. But I do look after my mother, and I just feel like this whole COVID thing just sort of threw me for a loop a little bit. I mean, I did some business, but not anywhere where I should be. So that's where I'm at.
Margaret, thanks for sharing the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I write my notes from you guys, and like, I'm always writing stuff down. I get stuff from Justin, I get stuff now from Rick and Margaret. Like what you just said was, you lost your footing. I love the term because I can tell you personally, I absolutely lost my footing too. Business was fine, business was good. But like, I'm not good. You know, like I got to work on me, you know, to be the best version of me every day, and, you know, to do more for everybody else, to do more for myself, feed into yourself a little bit more. Maybe the words that you say to yourself are very important. If you keep telling yourself you're a great dad, a great mom, a great person, you're in good health, you're in good wealth, then it's going to happen. But if you keep saying, well, I suck, I'm not good at this, I'm not, well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So it's very important to get yourself right. And a lot of times we don't take the time to really focus on getting ourselves right.
Hey, Billy, Rick said, interesting is, what I caught what Rick said about what COVID has done for them. And that's kind of what I said, I'm not COVID fatigued. As I really just think about it, what COVID has done to me is got me off the rat race. There are things that I can't do. And everything that I would do is not just what I want to do. I get driven by other things. And so I'm off the 7x24 rat race, and I can now prioritize and say, wait a minute, you know, what about this? Whether it's social, whether it's work related, gee, do I need to go face to face or can do it remotely? I am making much more thoughtful decisions about my time and in my relationships. You know, it is Jenny, it is my, you know, 3 sons, the grandchildren, it's my circle of friends around me that's close, and I can spend better time because I'm not running around checking all, but you know, I got to be touching everybody, and I can't. And that's what's me. So Rick, what you said was really kind of striking, is that's maybe what it is for me, is I actually have more time to be more focused on what's important because I don't have to do it all. I'm not.
I love that, Bob, and I'll agree. I think COVID has exposed a lot of a lot of inefficiencies in our world where we're wasting a lot of time. I definitely took more free time, didn't take vacations this year, but you know, I golfed probably 10, 15 times in my life up until this year. And I think I probably golfed 25, 30 times. Unfortunately, I still didn't get any better at it. And, you know, people like Bill Stone will tell you that. And that's okay. You know, it's working on it. And you're right, Bob. I mean, just, we were all working really inefficiently before, whether we knew it or not. And that is one of my biggest takeaways from COVID. So let me ask you guys, what's the most important thing in your life? Sorry, you guys can still see that, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what's the most important thing in your life? I'm going to say mine is my health.
Mine is my health too.
Yeah, and yet we still don't treat it as good as we should. We take it serious, but we don't. I just had like a really gross sandwich for lunch, which, you know, isn't exactly heart healthy. And for those on here who don't know, I had a heart attack, 39, so 7 years ago. So I probably should be eating plant-based everything, but I'm trying to just break even on the health side of it. So for me, it's the most important thing in my world is my health. How about you guys?
I would say family.
You said that, Tommy?
Yes.
Yeah. I love it, man. You're very consistent. You know that, right?
Sure. I get not really, but
No, it's you're gonna, you know, in case you didn't know your why in your couple of comments already, it's been doing for your boys and your family and family and family. And I know we talk about your background. We've had some conversation, and I think yours is clearer than some.
I mean,
Relationships are
obviously,
important.
most of you know that I did do 23 years in the Coast Guard, and the last 5 of them were probably the hardest because 3 of them I was in South Carolina away from them. So I feel like I'm still making up for lost time.
Mm.
You know, and you take for granted waking up every day and family's there. When I was waking up on a ship next to, you know, coasties.
Yeah, and you know what, Tom, you can't get back time, you know? That's the one precious commodity that unfortunately we can be as good as we want to be. That's one thing we can't. So we can only utilize the time we have right now. Never
Mhm.
put anything off, you know, like we talked about COVID. Now my kids will come out at like 1 o'clock to, for those who don't know, I legit work in a shed now. Like I converted a shed to a bar back there. It's my home space. It's a killer. I call it the shoffice. You know, the kids will come out here to the shop. It's like, hey, Dad, you want to throw the football? Like, I don't care. I'll make my calls whenever I can allow it in my time. But I know my oldest is 13, and like 2 years from now, he's not going to want to throw around a football with me. You know, so it's making the time right now.
Good stuff.
Anybody else? What's the most important thing?
I think
Okay.
mine's comfortability.
Go ahead,
Was
Josh.
that Justin?
I think mine's comfortability, being comfortable with my business, with the way I spend my
Yep.
time, financially being comfortable with my family. I think it extends over a lot of different areas, but it's being comfortable and being okay with all of those things and how I'm approaching those things and how I'm spending my time, really.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
I wrote down relationships because, I mean, at the end of the day, we have relationships with ourselves, with our family, with our clients, and having a level of comfort around those all are important. So, you know, just I focus on that a lot. The relationships in my life, in every level, it's just like, okay, we have the ability to control how we interact with those relationships. And I know I choose to always take the high road and follow the golden rule. And, you know, hopefully I keep focusing on improving my health, improving my wealth, improving my relationships. And, you know, again, that boils down to time, the time, the life work balance, you know. And maybe that's what I was trying to say with COVID. It's like, I don't know. Like you said, Bob, it was a rat race prior to COVID. It did kind of slow things down, didn't it? And
A lot.
I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah, not at all.
Me.
I think it's we in the Northeast run a little bit faster than a lot of
Yeah.
other places in the world. And you go down south and they don't really like us that much because they're like, you guys need to chill out. And hopefully during COVID, it's taught us to all just chill out because it's not worth it. Ricky, you just said something about relationships. And I remember hearing something a long time ago. And the truth to it was we're all just one relationship away from that next thing in our lives. And we just have to determine what that one relationship is. Just got to figure that out. And you should always be looking for it, you know, and when the time is right, it's going to appear. But we're all just one relationship away.
Cool.
All right, this is a fun one, and then I got to get deep on you guys. So question number 3 here: what brings you joy?
Wait, Billy, excuse me.
Yeah.
When does the crying come?
Well, listen, buddy, listen. You better grab the Kleenex there, big dog. I'm coming for you. We're going real deep with you, buddy. What brings you guys joy? Pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID. Anybody?
When my wife's happy.
Oh, Bill,
Well,
you
let's
guys
be
are
honest,
adorable. I
guys.
love this.
When mama's happy, the household is happy. True?
Right.
Agreed.
Talk about joy.
Yeah. All right.
I'll steal from Rick. It doesn't happen as often as it does for him. But when I have all the kids and their loved ones, whether it be girlfriend, boyfriends, all in the kitchen together, enjoying some barbecue or pizza or whatever, and just laughing, that to me is probably the happiest time for me.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Anybody else?
Well, think about all the people that we try to help in our professional lives and all the problems that they have in their lives, whether it be divorce or death or fractured family relationships. So, you know, one of the things that I just continue to be super grateful for is, even though I'm divorced, you know, my oldest lives 3 miles away. My other one lives just a few more miles away. And, you know, the fact that they just pop in and visit once in a while and stop over for dinner, it's just, man, when they leave, we're both like just giddy with joy. We're like, wow, this is awesome. Because you can have an adult relationship with your children, and they're well-rounded. They're, you know, they're thoughtful and caring, and it's just, it's a real gratifying feeling.
That's awesome. I got a couple things that bring me joy. One would be seeing Billy Stone in a Speedo.
Joy, huh?
I had to put that out. They're gonna make Billy Stone cry. Actually, for those who know me, I'm one of the coaches, my 11-year-old for youth football, and this was year 4. And unfortunately, we didn't have it due to COVID. But the prior 3 years, all 3 years, we went to the Super Bowl. We were 2-1 in the Super Bowl, and nothing was more fun to me and brought more joy in my world than spending 100 consecutive days with a bunch of 10-year-old kids on a football field, building camaraderie and teaching them life lessons, and you know, a couple of coaches being you know, guys being guys on a football field. That to me is way more fun than real estate will ever be, and that brought me a tremendous amount of joy. Came up in my Facebook memory. We actually a year ago yesterday had won our Super Bowl, so it was like all the coaches, I'm sending them texts. I'm like, man, I really missed it. So I do miss that. It brought me a ton of joy. Anybody else?
I'd say helping others. That's something that I always really enjoy, giving back and helping others. And, you know, whether it's education, being there for my family and my friends, it's just something I've always really enjoyed.
Is it because you get like gratification out of just helping people?
Yeah, I love it when someone comes back to me and is like, oh, hey, remember that time we were talking about this? And, you know, I implemented it and it really worked out for me. And, you know, my business is a lot stronger, or, you know, my home life is a lot better, or I'm starting to do this better routine with myself, like mentally, and getting in the right mindset in the morning. Just like anything really, like any way that I can help somebody else, that always really brings me joy, hearing that feedback at least.
I love it.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah. All right, so what are you passionate about and why? And that could be, this could be anything from like I was passionate about coaching. Some people are big into health, working out. Maybe they have a foundation that they work with, or a charity that they're super passionate about. Like what drives you? What do you guys get all stirred up on the inside? I know Tom Smith is going to say his family. So which is,
No, I'm gonna backpedal. I'm gonna say being on the water, fishing or whatever, but just being on the water is what brings me. You know, I love being out there.
you and I are going fishing next year, Tom. I
All
don't.
right, sounds good.
We got to make it happen. Then we'll follow it up with 9 holes, and you can laugh at my golf game. I can appreciate it being out in the water. It's nothing's more peaceful when you're out there, huh?
Absolutely.
Love it. Anybody else?
I love sports. Now that I have a daughter, I just picture myself coaching her, so it's kind of changed a little bit. But I'm like, I already wanted to play baseball and not softball and football, but that's what I'm super excited about. Something like that a little bit down the line. My passion for sports will always be there, and I hope I can like instill it in her. That's how a common bond we can have.
Awesome. Justin, I'll tell you the OCYFL, the Youth Football League, almost every single town in our league, which was like Situate, Marshfield, Duxbury, Hingham, had almost every single town had at least one girl playing youth football. And there was a girl from Duxbury that lit up our running back last year, and all the coaches were like, you just got lit up by a girl. Like, she was badass. And I love that, because it didn't matter whether she was a girl or a guy. She was out there playing the same game for the same reasons as the other kids. And she was a lot tougher than a lot of the boys. So we brought it to all their attention. So that's fantastic. Anybody else?
Everything.
Billy, I think what I'm about to say, a lot of people have already said, Alicia said giving back and, you know, after you ask that question, besides like, you know, doing stuff with my family and skiing with my daughters and running marathons, I think what I'm passionate about is giving back to agents, you know, some of my 30 years of experience. I love training and teaching and coaching and helping and being that guy, that got a minute guy. You know, within reason, you got to take control. But it's I find that when I'm in front of a classroom teaching or on a Zoom call, that's when my passion comes out.
Love it. All right, so what is your biggest fear? Anybody want to chime in on that one? What's the biggest fear that you have? And by the way, some great responses that I've heard in the past where some say failure, and then others have said success. And it all depends on the person there. And with that, some have said death, some have said divorce. I don't know what my biggest fear is. What are you guys thinking?
I know what mine is, and it's a little weird, but you know, my dad was like 53 when I was born, so he was kind of I only knew him as an elderly man, and him and my mom divorced, so he spent the last 10 years of his life pretty much alone, like living by himself, and you know, we would see him here and there, but it was a lonely existence, and you know, so although sometimes I fantasize about being alone and having no kids around and just going on a desert island by myself, I do have a fear of following in his footsteps and being alone, you know, just not having, that's why relationships are so important to me, because it would suck to be alone and not really have any relationships in your life. I can't even imagine that.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's funny, man, because you guys will notice a trend between when you chime in between all these questions that they all start to give you some of these answers. You know, Tom's been consistent with family. Ricky's been consistent with relationships. Bob goes back to, you know, Ginny. Justin keeps going back to, you know, his girlfriend and his baby, or his fiance and his baby. And Alicia now talking about her big why just got really real recently, and that will only become bigger as time goes on. From this moment on, every day it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, Alicia. It's never going to get smaller.
Ready.
So I love that. Anybody else? What's your biggest fear?
No, my biggest fear is letting people down.
Yeah, I agree.
My family,
Why is
my
that, Bob?
friends, my kids, you know, things that, those that I care about, not delivering the promise.
Yeah. What?
My commitment.
Why is that?
Let's see. I would think that it probably goes back to, you know, family of origin, you know, not so unlike Rick's, where, you know, family I grew up had limited means. Father worked 2 jobs to provide. There wasn't a lot of extras. And so that, you know, got lots of love, but so much of what I got, I created it. And so it's wanting more for others, or, you know, family. And so, you know, feeling feel that I want to provide it, you know, provide that. And they're all successful. You know, they're all got their own businesses and much more successful, you know, say than, you know, that I was at their age. But it's still, I have this thing about wanting to provide probably more than, you know, more of the, it's just not the physical things, not the money. It's the, just provide what I can deliver based on my experience. That's it. So yeah, that's it.
I love it. Thank you, Bob.
I don't know exactly why though. Why?
Yeah, that's okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one. My biggest fear is the uncertainty about the future and what I can't control.
Yeah, but you know, hey, Billy, what you just said there, that last line, the things you can't control, you know, you gotta, you know, friend to friend, I get nothing openly for COVID, you know, I get nothing but mad love for Bill Stone. He's been a great friend to have in my corner for a number of years now. And things that I've learned is like, you can't really, if you can't control the outcome to something, you can't really control, you can only control your process. You can't control the outcome. So those are things that, you know, regardless of whether you're going to allow that to take up headspace in your world, you may not be in control of that. So if you just focus on the things that you can control, a lot of those other things are going to end up happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fear. I mean, it's a question. What's your biggest fear? You know, it's funny. I'm trying to think of what my biggest fear right now is, and I don't know. Maybe it's that we got to homeschool our kids all the way through 12th grade. And I'm going to kill one of them. That's probably a big fear. And that's real for anybody homeschooling kids right now. That's, you know, my wife's in there killing them right now, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. Anybody else? No?
I think the fear, like almost what Bob was saying, is fear that I don't give my children the proper guidance to be successful when they move on, you know, get a little bit older. And they're close to that age. I got 16 to 22, so they're quickly going to be leaving the nest or being pushed out, right?
Yeah.
And I just fear that I don't give them the proper guidance they need to be successful.
Well, Tom, based on who I know you are, what you're saying here, you're certainly setting them up for the best of opportunities. You know, you're doing your best, and you're giving them everything they possibly could need, you know?
I mean, there's a big learning curve how we were raised, where you got a foot up your ass to, we have to pat them on the back for every little thing. And it's just, that's the hardest thing for me, is to try to learn how to properly do that.
Yeah, Tom, I grew up with that. You know, Bob was talking about his dad worked a couple jobs. I mean, my parents were divorced. My dad worked at U.S. Gypsum making sheetrock his whole life. My mother worked at Papagino's, you know, and we knew you couldn't disrespect either one of them because you were fearful they were going to hit you with anything, or you know, Dad was going to kick you in the ass with a steel toe boot, or real story. My mother beat me with a clog one time, a wooden shoe. I still have nightmares about it. But old school, you know, I didn't make that same mistake twice. I'll tell you that. Whatever it was, I didn't make it a second time. And you know, besides being bald, I turned out all right. So, all right. So, what circumstances do you want to avoid in your life? This is kind of a bigger one.
I want to.
Well, I think I want to avoid failure. And that also is my biggest fear, because this past year, it's just sort of been, you know, that fear has just been like, you know, get up and do what you're supposed to do. So my circumstance I want to avoid is failure and ill health, you know, not being in good health.
So, Margaret, can I ask you, you say the fear of failure and exclude health. You know, what is fail? Because we all have a different outlook of what success and what failure looks like. What would be your definition or outlook of what failure is?
Just not making a sustainable living. I mean, I do, but you know, I know I can do better. So it's just kind of my me just refocusing and doing what I'm, you know, should be doing.
Harness that.
Pardon?
I said harness that.
Yes.
Sustainable living. I can tell you this COVID craziness that we have in our market, those who go all in will be just fine. Those who have a couple of toes in might not be. So harness that feeling that you want that sustainable living, and anything shy of that would be considered failure. I mean, health, obviously, without health, we have nothing. So we all need that. We need to make better choices, but look at that sustainable living and put that at the end, put that all the way to the right, and start backing it up with steps, that like mini baby steps. It's gonna maybe a set of tiny whys that are gonna bring you right into that. Like what do you have to do to get the sustainable living? And whatever this thing is, what do you have to do to be able to establish that and go back until you hit a starting point? And you're going to hit the starting point and you're going to know exactly what your roadmap is now to get to the end.
That's right.
So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. That's great.
I would say mine, I bet a lot of people agree, is just regrets. Things I should have done, I didn't do.
Yeah. Regrets are tough. You know, regrets are really tough. I get that one, Tom. Anybody else?
Yeah, why didn't I get up earlier? Why didn't I spend more time with this person? Or why didn't I work on my business harder? All the above, you know, just the regrets of.
Yeah, Tom, it's like they say, you know, like if you try just a little bit harder with everything. I don't remember where I heard it. It might have been Tony Robbins, which is like, you know, kiss your partner a second longer, hug them 10 seconds longer, you know, read to your kids or spend an extra 15, 10 minutes. And just those small incremental steps are going to lead to, bigger rewards for both you and them, for everybody. And it's, I think sometimes with life, like we kind of don't put in the effort on a lot. Like we have so many things going on in our world, and they don't all demand the same amount of power and energy. And I think sometimes we put the power and energy into some of the wrong things and not the right things. And again, it goes back to, you want and I'm going to, make my notes here. You want the sustainable living with the health while building relationships, having values, beliefs, have time, but you need the people in your world to without the people in your world, like none of that stuff is going to be all right.
Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
Regrets is one of my favorite subjects. I read a book, boy, it's got to be 10 years ago. It was a book written by a woman. She was a caregiver. Her name was Bronnie Ware, and she really worked with people who were dying on their their end of life. And she studied it, and what she did was she wrote a book on what are the 5 regrets before dying. And I took it to heart. That changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. 5 regrets. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. I live by that. I would encourage anybody who's interested, read that book, and I will die without regrets because those are important. To me. Think of it. Her name was Bronnie Ware, W-A-R-E, The 5 Regrets Before Dying. Yeah, and really fascinating book. Simple. And the circumstance that I want to avoid in my life is not to continue to not be able to continue to be a contributing member of society. And there's lots of ways that can happen. If you die, it's over and done, but it's Alzheimer's, it's a lot of those things there. While I'm on Earth, I want to continue to make contributions, and when I can't, pull a plug.
I love it. So is it actually the book called The 5 Regrets Before Dying?
Yep.
All right, thank you. That's amazing, and I get that. I mean, regrets. Once people are not in your world, you can't tell them how you feel about them anymore. For those who know me know I'm pretty transparent, and I don't mind saying things that a lot of people wouldn't normally say. Half the time, the stuff that I say isn't actually appropriate, and that's okay. It's just for those who get me, understand. It's just who I am, but I love that. I love that. I'm gonna grab that book, Bob. Thank you. Anybody else have any circumstances they want to avoid in their life?
Yeah, I want to avoid, having to end up depending on help from others. I want to be able to take care of myself and others. Why? Because I've seen other people in that position, and it's just terribly sad. And I know I have the power in me to avoid that. So that's kind of, I'm always, when you boil it down, the decisions I make are usually pointing me in that direction, just taking control of my own life and not having to rely on others for specifically the financial assistance or any other assistance. I want to be the one providing assistance.
Ricky, I love that. And again, I keep telling you guys, you guys are saying like some fantastic one-liners, and I'm writing them down. I like the power in me, like that, just because I think we all could use a little bit of inner strength right now, a little bit more power. I can tell you, for me, circumstances I want to avoid is I've been dead ass broke in my life. I had nothing, and back in 2007 when the economy tanked, my wife and I, we held on for anything, any life preserver we could possibly find. And, I'm open about it. We lived off an equity line. We used our equity line to pay our mortgage, that probably 2.5 years. And at that time I had $108,000 credit card debt, on top of car payments, on top of mortgages. And I remember we couldn't afford oil at our house. We didn't have any heat. I went a whole winter without having heat in my car because I couldn't afford the part for it. And I just remember it hurt. Like, for those who have not had a lot, you don't have to be, everybody's definition of rich and poor is going to be different. But for me, there were people that were worse off than me. But for me, that was kind of like the bottom financially, where I'm surprised that my wife and I made it through it. And we've since, paid everything off, and we're debt free, and we've built it up. But I got to tell you, it's a bad place to be for anybody that's ever been there. It gets in your head. It's such a bad level. And I don't ever want that again under any circumstances.
Amen.
Yeah, and we've all experienced it. I mean, for anybody on this Zoom that was selling real estate back in 07, 08, 09, we went from smiles and having stuff that, that was really nice to a dark gloom recession economy in real estate that we had never seen, never planned, never knew was coming until it was already upon us. And we didn't know how to play by the new rules. And I'm grateful that, the people who were on the Zoom that were selling back then made it through, like myself. It was a tough time. I mean, it was a lot of people had to make a lot of financial sacrifice that took them a long time to come back from that, including myself. Anybody else on what circumstances do you want to avoid in your life?
I think for me, it's pretty simple. It's broad, but it's negativity. I think I have the personality that of being around negativity, it tends to suck me into it, and kind of gets you down. But I mean, this isn't really a plug for KW, but there's just so many positive people at KW, and just being here for the past year, you just kind of see what it can be like if you kind of ride out the positivity train and don't let that negative get into your brain space.
Yeah, Justin, especially during a freaking pandemic, you know what I mean? Like, we all have the ability to go down a rabbit hole, and it's, there were some people in my world that were really, really close that, I'll be honest, I cut out this year because the negativity, like, we all have our own stuff going on in our world, and the last thing we need is somebody piling it on, with the negative mindset, the negative aura, the negative words that they use. And if you spend too much time around that, it's going to suck you in. A couple of years ago, I had two buddies that were both really they were starting going through divorce, and the three of us would always go out for beers, and we'd spend the whole time, and these two would just be bashing their spouses. And finally, after, we used to go out once a week, and then finally after about 4 or 5 weeks, I just bowed out. They're like, how come you don't come out anymore? And I'm like, listen, my relationship with my wife is just fine, and I intend to keep it that way, but I don't need to bring your garbage home to my house every day. And I got to tell you, fast forward 10 years later, I'm not friends with either one of those guys anymore, and that's okay. And they're both divorced and not happy. So leave that arm's length distance from the bullshit. The negative free world is just arm's length. You're stiff arming, you're stiff arming negativity. I love that. Here's a question for you guys. If you had a chance to live your life, what would you keep? What would you change from the first time around? If you had any do-overs, and some people, I'm going to let you guys take away. If you had a second chance to do this, what would you keep? What would you change from the first go around? It's a deep question. I'll share with you guys mine, and maybe it'll get you guys thinking. I told you my parents were divorced, and my mother got married like 12 times. It was really only like 4, but it felt like 12. And we moved around every year when the lease expired. They went for the cheapest rental anywhere. We lived in all the DeLuca buildings in Weymouth, Maple Gardens, Broad Street, lived in 4 different towns, and we constantly making new friends, never had roots. And what happened was I resented my mother so much that, we got older. I hit my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, and I resented my mother on such a high level. And she just passed away a couple of years ago. And I really didn't get a chance to kind of, say a piece as I get older to say, you know what, it is real when you're an adult. And I didn't know that because I was a kid. I would keep that entire experience because it helped me appreciate what I have today and what I've earned and what I've worked hard for. What I would change is my crappy attitude about my parents blaming them, being in the blame mode. And I would let my mother know, you talk about regrets, Bobby, the regret of not saying to my mother, hey, you were truly doing the best that you could in the time that you were doing it, and I'm truly sorry for that. So that's mine.
It's not too late, Bill.
Yeah, no, I know. It's you got relationships. We're talking about relationships, is make the best of everyone you have. And I like Justin talking about negativity. There's just no room for that in your world. And if you surround yourself with good people, then you're gonna be fine. Anybody on that one? If you had a second chance to do, what would you keep? What you get rid of? Or what you would change?
Yeah.
For me, same as you, Billy, is unfortunately I lost my mother at a very young age. I was 18 years old. And as you guys can all imagine, I know it's a shocker, I wasn't the best of kids.
Oh, no.
So I wish I could have been a little, a better son for her and not gave her so much heartache. But having kids myself, I realize, unfortunately, that's what we have to do as parents. But what I would keep is my time through the military. All their families were moving every 3-4 years. And I had the ability to give up some advancements, but to keep my family stable in the same house for their life, which to me, money can't buy, advancement can't buy. All my kids grew up in Weymouth, and to me, that was a great success story for a military family.
Love it. Thank you, Tom. All right, we're going to move on. There's only 2 questions left, and I'm going to get you guys on your day. So question number 8 here. If you were debt-free, no credit cards, no loans, no mortgages, what would that feel like, and what would it mean to your family? The point of this is we all stress about money. It's funny, not throughout this whole thing, I don't really actually have a lot of money notes, which is good. None of us want to be broke, but just imagine if we were Rich Lannon, he says everything's paid off. And what would that look like for you guys? No debt, no debt, no car payments, no credit cards, no mortgage. What would that look like? What would it feel like to you guys? What would it mean for your family?
Freedom,
Yeah,
Exactly what I
freedom
was
is
gonna say.
right.
able to breathe a little easier.
Yeah, and I saw the smile on your face. We like freedom.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a big gasp of like exhale right there, like freedom. You know, you're right. You're right. Anybody else?
You know, a little different spin on it is I don't know, no desire, lack of desire, because what do I need to wake up and spin my wheels for if I have everything? So I think having a little bit of that's good to keep you honest and keep you going.
I agree, Tom.
Having a little bit drives you then. I don't know. I would like to find out what it's like because I would like to wake up one morning and say, hey, you know what? We decided we're boarding the plane right now. We're going to go to, I don't know if you guys saw that the island of Fiji is offering for $30,000. You can spend unlimited time at one resort for 2021, which means you can technically stay there for 365 days for $30,000. That sounds pretty damn good to me. So, you know, I would have no problem spending time in Fiji for a year in flip-flops and shorts and a baseball hat to protect my ball dome from the sun. That would bring an immense amount of happiness to me because the ocean, like you talked about, Bob, Tom, being on the water is my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would feel pretty good. The having debt and all that stuff, yes, it absolutely drives you because I know it has for me. You know, being in mass amounts of debt definitely drove me to not want to be in debt. However, it'd be nice to not have a single payment and every penny that you ever came in just to go right into a savings account, knowing that you have the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Imagine all the people you could help. I'm
Well,
sure.
Yeah,
Like-
Ricky, I love that, man. Rick's got the abundance mindset here where, you know, everything that Rick said today is about helping other people in relationships. And it's not even about you. Like, what would it do? How would that make you feel if you were able to help somebody who was a single mom of three that was living on, affordable housing that she was barely making it, working two jobs and doing the best that she can to be able to help out that person. Like, how would that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm sure I would find a new purpose. But we just, for the first time, probably in my life, I think we have always donated to our church, but we're tithing now, which is 10%. And the fact that we're able to do that is a really good feeling. And yeah, I mean, damn, the abundance mindset. I mean, I just like to pick and choose who, what are we passionate about? Who needs the most help? And then just make that be our job. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I love it because you know what, Ricky, you can have all the money in the world, but the feeling that would just give you by being able to do that for somebody would be way better than having all that money and keeping it yourself.
100%.
Awesome. Anybody else on that? All right, question 9. Are there places that you've always wanted to travel to, purchases you've always thought about making, family traditions you've always wanted to create? And if so, where, what, and why? And the purpose of this is to make sure we all go back to our roots, trying to figure out what our big why is. And this right here talks about a lot of things. So are there any places anybody wanted to travel to, or purchases or family traditions you want to create?
So Hawaii is on my list. I'm definitely going to make it there. Because that was a place that my dad had always dreamed about going and never made it there. But we're creating family traditions now. I mean, me and my 2 daughters have gone up to Sugarloaf Mountain, and that's going to be our weekend, one weekend a year. And we're passionate about skiing, and it's a blast. They remember that. So that's a tradition that I think is going to be a long lasting one. So yeah, it's a good question, Billy. Where, what, and why? And the why for me is just, again, those relationships, those experiences that money can't buy them. I mean, it can't replace them. So, and they're going to remember them. I know that my kids will be telling their kids about how, they went skiing with dad and, had a great time. So, and plus now they all love reggae music now. So I don't know where they got
we love Myrtle Beach. It's a quick little turnaround from here, and we brought our boys like 4 or 5 times. A couple of years ago, we were driving down the street and it was one of those places that said helicopter rides, and you knew they were a ridiculous amount of money. And we pulled in, we're like, let's do this. And I had never been in a helicopter, my two kids. We had to make the adult choice that both my wife and I flew in separate helicopters with different children. God forbid something happened. We're like, let's separate, divide and conquer. And we went up and we flew over the ocean for a while. And I got to tell you that, I let my 9-year-old sit in the front of the cockpit. He had the headgear on. He was like, looking all badass like this. He was digging it, and he still talks about it to the day. And that was 3 years ago. And that brought a tremendous amount of joy, tremendous, because they still talk about, they came home and told all their friends they get a helicopter ride. So, anybody else on any places you've always wanted to travel to, purchases or family traditions?
I think a purchase and a family tradition for me go hand in hand. My parents always had like a second house. They had a place in Campton, New Hampshire. Now they're down in Manomet, and they created so many memories, so many things to do, so like family oriented. When you get somewhere that you can just go and it's your own place, I'd love to do that for my family at some point. I think it's something that I always grew up with and I'd love to pass on. Yeah, man.
So what you got to do is, I've always had that love-hate with a vision board, because the hate thinks it's quirky, but the love means you're striving for something that you're looking at every day. Is put that on your vision board next to a picture of your daughter, and you're gonna be quickly, 1 + 1 = the result. And like I wish that my wife and I had bought a pond front house, down the Cape or down in Plymouth. We used to fish down in Manomet all the time, and that was mine. It hasn't happened yet. But make that happen. Like you can absolutely make that so achievable, so doable, that just put a timeline on it. Like that's the only thing you got to do at this point. Put a timeline on it. When you've given yourself the time to have it done by.
Alicia was smiling when you said vision board.
Yeah, at least she's laughing about the vision board. They're
well, because I told him, I was like, I'm about to nerd out so hard as we get close to the end of the year and we start gearing up for 2021. And I actually just spoke to Lisa Axios about hosting a virtual vision board class that will be taking place next month. We just talked about it right before this class. So get
good.
ready.
This message brought to you by your team leader. I love it. It's funny. So the first time I went through Bold and they started talking about vision boards, I'm like, the blue collar guy in me that, grew up didn't like it because it was just like stuff. And I'm like, I don't need all that stuff. Like, what am I just going to start cutting pictures out of magazines for stuff because I'm going to pretend I want a car that's better than the car that you want? And then I started thinking about it doesn't all have to be stuff. It can be, the health or creating those memories. And then I became a believer when I removed it doesn't have to be materialistic things, because materialistic things don't mean anything to me. So I encourage you to do that. What were you gonna say, Alicia?
I love it. Honestly, like I used to teach it every year with Wilson Group, and we would have everybody would put their vision boards together, and then we would get together before COVID, and we would all present our vision boards and go through it with one another, discussing why it's a part of our vision. We would all work together to try to help each other get to that goal. And I think it's a really great thing to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach this class on how to create a vision board. And then in January, we're going to have a class on going through it and talking about it and getting accountability partners to kind of push ourselves to achieve these goals and have these long-term dreams.
Awesome. It's Justin, I'll tell you, way back when, I told you that, my wife and I were, I joke, like we were just super poor, and it was what it was. And then, I started working on, like, Rick Murray is my profit share daddy. He's in my upline a couple of lines, and I've helped add 86. I have 86 people in my tree. So however many Rick has, I've helped add 86, but he legit is my profit share daddy. I started allocating that money away so I could buy an investment property, and it didn't have to be a sexy property. It didn't have to be a 5-family, a 3-family. It was just something. And we scrolled it away, and we had managed to buy our first investment property from most of the proceeds came from profit share. and that's building a bigger life for myself and for my kids, because you know, what better way to build wealth than through real estate? And whether I hold on to it or sell it, I can leave that to my kids, and that's part of that dynasty we talked about. But I did have an investment property on my vision board. Everybody had a Mercedes, and I had a condo, a brick building. I didn't want to own the whole thing. Just give me a small piece of that pie, and I'll start from there. So, anybody else want to chime in on that one? Going once, going twice. All right, so guys, try to figure out, this is the end here. We, try to figure out what your big why is. I mean, I think you guys, you're just not going to wake up and it's going to be really clear. And it doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 70. It doesn't make it any easier. You know, if you're 70, you just got more wise years than the 18-year-old, and things you can have better clarity and a better understanding of where you're going. But I encourage you all to, try to figure out what your big why is, what your purpose, why you choose to put your feet on the cold floor every morning as we're heading into winter, and get going. Once you have figured out your big why, tell the world about it. Make sure the louder you get, the abundance that you put out there to the world is going to come back. People want to support you. So make sure you surround yourself with great people. You remind them, you share with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Alicia, you'll love it right there. Create a visual, print and hang it where you'll see it every single day, because when you do that, it becomes real. Put it on your background, your cell phone. If it punches you in the face every time you see it, you can't hide from it. Remember, it's your why, it's nobody else's. I joked with Corey Morris there about find a song that reminds you of your big why. And he was texting me all this garbage music that he was listening to. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with your big why? And but for him, it correlated, and it made it work. And I challenge you all to find your big why. Before I get you guys off, because it's 2:27. This is typically 2 hours. We did it an hour and a half. I apologize for taking. I know the Market Center thought it was 1 hour. They didn't know. Anybody want to give me any ahas or takeaways that you guys might have got from this today that you could share? Besides me wanting to see Bill Stone in the Speedo.
That was awesome. I feel like I went to therapy. Thank you.
It kind of is. Thank you, Margaret, for Margaret. I'll tell you that this whole presentation, I enjoy teaching in person far better than Zoom. You have to participate. I appreciate your participation, chiming in, because if people just sit there and listen, I don't know that they're getting as much from it. So I believe most everybody on here actually chimed in, and I'm grateful for you all to hear and have you all share with me what's important to you.
Yep. Thank you, Bill. Anybody
else?
Yeah, I think this is very important stuff to really give some thought to and think about, because otherwise it's almost like you're just going through the motions. And to have a purpose each day when you wake up to focus on and look forward to, I think is important.
Hey, Billy, I'm going to say that, I think we all feel that at least during the last 9.5 months of COVID, it's kind of felt like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And I kind of joke with my wife. We were like, she was in tears, and I was pretty damn close. We were talking about the thing with COVID is, like, a lot of us just have not had that thing to look forward to, like that vacation, that's just something. And Billy, what you just said, like, we all need that thing to look forward to right now. And whether it's a bunch of small whys or small baby steps to get you to the big why, like, that's what you can focus on right now.
Yep, exactly.
Anybody else?
Hey,
That was
Billy,
an awesome class, Bill. Thank you so much for teaching it. Really appreciate it. I always feel like charged up again after taking this class. You do a really great job at presenting the information and just kind of getting us to what that big why is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
guys. Hey, do yourselves a favor, and if you don't journal, just try it. Start small. I really disliked it when I started, and then you start going back and reading what your thoughts are from 12:30 in the morning, 60 days ago, and you're like, geez, that's how I was feeling. And I remember that. What got me through that? And I got to tell you, it is therapy, because you can go back and and you can connect the dots on your thoughts. So I definitely encourage doing that. Guys, I want to thank you for taking an hour and a half out of your day to hang out with me and listen to me babble. I'm grateful for you all. I wish you the highest level of success out there. If there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out. I'm always a resource for you, whether it's through business or personal, always here to help.
Well, you're an amazing babbler, Bill.
Thank you, brother. And
And
you're a
you-
terrible golfer, right, Billy?
No, your golf's come a long way.
You're good.
Bye,
All right,
everyone.
guys, listen, enjoy the rest of your day. Be profitable, and I'll talk with you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Billy.
Bill.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. I love you, Bill Stone.
Long time.
Love you long time. Bye, buddy. Hey, buddy. Not much. I didn't want to bother you. I don't want to bother you because I'm like, I know you're, I mean, you know, you're tough. But I wanted to, you know, kind of let you, how you feeling? Yeah. They give you any like muscle, like pain relievers or anything, or just like ibuprofen? Yeah, fuck. Oh. Yeah, like 5. I've been on, yeah, 5. I've had 5 milligram oxy. I'm like, okay, you're missing the other 95 milligrams. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. And then they threw you in the freaking parking lot. That's insane. That's insane. That's. Well, they treat you like cattle, and that was South Shore, right? Yeah, that's